recording. So this is about apprenticeships and LMI and the latest information that we've got in this area. So I'm going to pass across to Alex now. Alex, do you need me to share your, did you send me your presentation, your latest one?
Yes, I did this morning, first things. So
okay, let me find that.
A brand new updated one.
Okay, let me find that, Alex. Sorry, we've had meetings all morning. Sorry, my email is moving very, very slowly this morning as well.
That's okay. Shall I just carry on? Because I've got the slides up in front of me. It's just you guys can't see them.
Can you share your screen?
So I'm doing it on the phone because I couldn't get on, but I've...
Right, hold on then. Let me see if I can find your presentation and I can... yeah, I've got you here. Sorry, my email's on. Yeah, right. I think I'm getting there.
Right here, Alex.
Right, sorry everybody, it's just going slowly on my machine. I could see Alex's presentations and I'm just about to open it up. Okay, and then I'm going to share it with you. So hold on a minute. I think there's somebody else coming in. Okay. Right, okay, I'm going to go for it.
Okay.
And then I'll tell you when it's up, Alex, because
yeah.
You can see what's on my screen, can you?
I can see what's on yours, yeah.
Okay, can you see your presentation there?
Not, yes.
Right, let me put it as a slideshow.
Yeah, so if you go
okay, fire away.
Sorry, Sue, can I just interrupt there? I think there's some people waiting in the lobby.
Okay. I can't see anybody waiting.
Okay, just flashed up on my screen saying there's people waiting, that's all.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not sure if anybody else can let them in, but I can't see anybody waiting from my side.
I'll try.
I think it's Mark Godley, and I think he's in actually.
Okay, that's fine then.
Right, okay, I'm going to try to get back to the presentation now. So apologies for this, everybody. It's always like the online meeting thing, isn't it? Right, Alex, hold on a minute. I'm just going to go back.
Okay.
Okay. It's obviously fatal to try to go back. So we're almost back in.
Great. We're here. If you want to move on to the next slide then, Sue, thanks.
I'm just checking that everybody can see because my screen doesn't seem to be sharing. Can anybody see it?
Yeah.
You can. Oh, that's good.
Yes, yeah, we can see it.
All right, okay, because I can't. Sorry, let me just get to it because otherwise I won't be able to help you move on. Can you see that, everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Right, let's try that then.
Brilliant. Okay, thanks, Sue. So yeah, I'm Alex Richards. I run the Western Training Provider Network. It's a membership organisation, 37 members in the west of England delivering post-16 training. Not for profit. Members are independent training providers, the 4 local colleges, University of West of England, and members deliver around about 75% of all apprenticeships locally.
Sorry, Alex, can I just butt in quick? Can you see a different slide, everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is actually changed. Okay, fine, that's all right then. It wasn't working for me. Okay.
Yeah, so have you moved forward again, Sue? That's it. So the Western Training Provider Network also delivers the ASK program. So I've seen some people on screen, I know. So we've delivered that in schools. It's apprenticeship support knowledge in schools. If you could forward that on again, Sue. And what it is, so every school, basically the program is every school and college in England. It's funded by the Department of Education. We've got 3 more academic years and potentially another 2 afterwards. And we're building on good practice in schools already, providing additional support where needed. And it's all mapped to the Gatsby benchmark. So that's what I'm going around, me and colleagues going around delivering in schools now, what we have been, and we're still carrying on delivering it now. So if we could go to the next slide. Okay, so we are still delivering ours. So I'm getting some requests in from schools. So similar to what we're doing now, we're trying to give careers advisors and schools an understanding of what's happening with apprenticeships. There is an online opportunity to utilise resources, and there's face-to-face when and if we get access. So what do I know about apprenticeships? I've just been out to all the members.
Hold on a minute, Alex. I think some people need to put their mics off. There's a lot of rustling going on.
Okay.
If you put your mic off for now until you want to talk after the presentation. Thanks. Go on, Alex.
Okay. So there's a lot of unknown at the moment, as everybody can imagine. So I've been out to members, I contact them all regularly, and I've just done a survey, funnily enough. I fed back some things to the Combined Authority West of England, because everybody's keen to know, as you guys are. So what's happened since lockdown began is the apprenticeship providers have all been delivering to existing apprentices, to everybody, as many as possible. And there has been very few redundancies. So a lot of apprentices are on furlough, and almost every training provider and college out there and university has moved completely to online delivery. And they've managed to continue to deliver to apprentices, and apprentices and employers are really, really happy about this. Some of them have been sort of left out of they haven't got a huge amount of support, and what they're wanting is contact. So the chance of them to do education outside of the workplace, say if they're on furlough, has been really, really helpful, and everybody's really stepped up. So that's great. So there's lots of support. Going forwards, though, is a bit of a mystery. We don't all know what's going to happen yet. So what we do know is that apprenticeship starts have scaled back dramatically. Looking from what January to happen to now in sort of March and April, there's barely anything going on at all. Certainly new people into it. It's generally people already in work and they wanted to do an apprenticeship so they can do some extra study. Out of the providers that I've recently surveyed, 83% of them believe there'll be a reduction in vacancies, but they're guessing this or what they're hearing from employers they know. Those believing there'll be a reduction average it around about 40%, but this is a guess. So I've asked for details of changes and how people are going to be changing what they're doing, their delivery, etc. And only the very basic beginnings of what they're going to do is sort of coming through. What providers are saying, local ones, they're not planning at present to change any of the sectors that they're delivering in. So at the moment, there should be full provision available, or full sort of sectors available. So I've also got in touch for a wider picture as well to the ESFA, the government department which deals with apprenticeships, and they've given me some information which I've tailored into the local stuff as well. So what we do know is that hospitality, tourism, and retail sectors have been hit hard. And so there's been public announcements out there from BA, Virgin Atlantic and TUI. We know that there might be issues with things like Airbus, but we don't know yet. And there have been redundancy announcements from some of those larger employers. And there's going to be redundancies with apprenticeships as well, with apprentices as well. I think the government, I think it might be something like around about 6% of apprentices might become redundant going forward. Now, national employers have broadly retained their normal annual recruitment cycles, although there are some delays, and some of them are pushing it back to 2021 January. So I have been on calls with groups of employers as well who've said that some of them might be pushing their cycle of recruitment activity forward to January 2021. And I noticed that Gloucester College at the weekend, they announced that they're staggering their apprenticeship starts with a January window as well. What this does mean is if they're going to take on apprentices, then they might be trying to sort of engage them, and I haven't seen full details yet, engage them from September onwards. And like I said, there's a lot of online delivery going on at the moment, which is actually proving highly successful. Students are really engaged, but it might be that they sign them up and then move them forward. And I know that apprenticeship providers are doing online recruitment as well. So I know of providers who are actually doing the recruitment cycle and interviewing online, and it is working, although it's at the very beginnings of practicing this to get it right at the moment. So advice from government is individuals should always look on the Find an Apprenticeship service. The government are trying to encourage as many employers as possible to advertise their vacancies there via this route. NHS and police are continuing to recruit and have a heavy demand for apprenticeships. Police officers, call handlers, NHS, healthcare workers. The government anticipate a reduction in the overall apprenticeship starts for the coming 12 months, but they don't have any reliable data to what extent this might be. And they said don't forget the importance of traineeships. And I've been trying for a while to encourage more providers to set up traineeship provision. Personally, I didn't think there was a huge amount in the west of England. There was more in the past. At my last network meeting, I brought along a sort of a best practice example of where it's going elsewhere in the country. And I know the government are working on, made some flexibilities in that to make it sort of more attractive and better for learners. If they do an apprenticeship, they can stay on programme for a lot longer before that important work experience is found, because that may be hard to find at the beginning when there's redundancies out there and businesses may be shedding their workforce a little bit. I think everybody's waiting to see what happens with the furlough, what happens when companies come off furlough, to see what damage has been done to the employment sectors out there. We just don't know yet. So the government, I found out on Friday, they see the SME and the mid-sized employers to create the biggest demand for apprenticeship recovery, particularly in regional pockets such as the South and Southwest. And the Department of Education and ESFA are forming teams to try and help with the recovery of the apprenticeship market. There's going to be all sorts of employer inducements and there was previous cash inducements to try and get them to take on apprentices. There's going to be the same sort of thing, we believe, going forwards. They've seen strong demand for level 3 and upward apprenticeships up to degree level, and in new markets such as legal and finance, as you can imagine, with lots of things going on with employers at the moment. People not sure of what they do with their staff and how they deal with them. Smaller companies who are doing things like legal and finance are grown, and HR, and obviously digital as well. So there's vacancies coming in those sectors right now. And I spoke to a local provider in Bristol who's had new vacancies come on board in all those sort of 4 areas. And the guy I spoke to from the government, he said he was speaking to someone from Exeter who's recruiting 40 to 50 apprentices now. My advice at the moment is I'm going to keep updating people as much as possible. And for students is to continue to research. Finding an apprenticeship is actually can be quite difficult. It is a lengthy research project. So just do more of that research, because they will be appearing as the economy gets back on its feet, but it may not be in the same sort of way it was before, in sort of the same sort of windows. But the providers will be pushing as much as possible because it's their cash flow which is impacted, to get as many new opportunities from employers wherever they can. I'm going to be delivering sessions for schools, going to be doing that online or face-to-face where I can, and talking about the process, talking about research as well. And so I had a school came to me at the weekend. They said they had a learner wanted something in life science. And my advice was, we found the provider, but they were local. Keep in touch with that provider. There may not be any vacancies at all now, but the provider will be out there trying to create them because they've got caseloads that they want to fill. So if you've got learners who want a certain specific sector, then keep in touch with the providers that do deliver them, because they need to get those vacancies up and running as soon as possible. And what I'll do as well is I've got a mailing list. You may not all be on it. Some of you may be on it. I'm going to be sending out the Ask Apprenticeships newsletters, but I'm also going to send out local updates when I get them back from providers. So when we hear of things growing, when we hear of news, we can send them out on a regular basis so that you can see, the sector as it moves forwards. Okay, so that's about all I've got. We are in the dark a little bit ourselves. And as much information I can get to, I'll get to you as I can. But that's about it, Sue. Hope that's helpful in some way.
No, it's really useful to know, there are some areas that are actually growing, or, there are more opportunities coming in. And I think the idea of having a newsletter where you can keep us up to date with what's going on and what new things coming in would be really, really useful. If you want to hold on your questions for Alex right now, I think we'll allow Charlotte to do an input on labour market information, and then we'll actually have a little opportunity to share and discuss. Charlotte, do you want to share your screen, or do you want me to share your presentation?
I will give it a go. Bear with me a second. It's not allowing me to share, I'm afraid.
Okay, well, let me pick up your presentation and then I can share it from here. I'm just going to try to go rather a lot going on here, a lot of things open. Right, hold on. Okay. Right, let's just skip from Alex's. Let's see Charlotte. Hopefully you can all see Charlotte's presentation. Do let me know if you can't. And okay, Charlotte, you fire away then and let me know when you want me to change the slide.
Okay, if you just quickly change to content. So like Alex, this is very much a kind of what we know now. It's changing quite rapidly. So what the way the presentation is structured is around the current context. What we thought beforehand were going to be the future trends, and actually give some thought about how that may be kind of sped up because of the result of COVID, and how we are responding to these current changes, and then also some signpostings, some useful resources that might help. So if you could move on, please. So as we've discussed, the economy is going under a period of unprecedented change, impacting on the labour market. This chart kind of shows how we have a broad and diverse economic base structured around lots of different sectors. I would say we mirror largely the national picture. However, we do have some local specialisms around advanced engineering and aerospace, professional services, and also the creative industries. How these sectors are going to change in the future remains uncertain. But I would say like the volume employers are, like I said, are very much mirror those in the national picture. If we can move forward, please. So at the moment, 28% of the labour force nationally are furloughed. Obviously, this is affecting the kind of hospitality sectors and the arts sectors more, as well as those areas which are less able to work from home. We've seen a real shift towards people working from home, and our kind of weight towards the professional services locally has meant that we have been able to adapt quite a lot in that respect. And we have, I don't know how many people we have working locally from home, but we can imagine due to the kind of makeup of our industries that quite a large proportion will be. If we move on to the next slide, please. Obviously, since furlough began and the lockdown began, we have seen a huge spike in the number of people claiming out of work benefits, and those age cohorts that are most kind of this is affected the most are primarily young, so from 16 to 24, and the older generation as well. And those areas have seen the biggest spike. And I suppose one thing I would say is that actually we're still below the national average in terms of unemployment claimants. But this was just for 1 month. This could go up once the furlough period stops. We may see some of those large employers actually making some redundancies as they are taking into account their kind of long-term view. It's just currently unknown. Also, with a large proportion of people now being unemployed, you're going to have greater competitions for the jobs that are available. Something I should have included in this slide pack is around the kind of jobs that are being advertised at the moment. We have seen something that them basically go off a cliff. It has reduced massively. We're now seeing about a quarter of the jobs that we would ordinarily see being advertised. So you're seeing more people in the labour market and fewer people being fewer jobs being advertised. That may just be a result of lockdown and people getting used to the changes and looking at new ways of recruiting, and also seeing where their kind of offer is shifting and changing. So if we can move on to the next slide. Moving slightly on to the future trends. In the west of England, last summer, we published our local industrial strategy, which kind of set our blueprint for where we would see future growth coming. And we identified 3 priority sectors that would promote cross-sectoral innovation in the region. And these were advanced engineering and manufacturing, creative and digital industries, and professional services. Obviously, there is a lot going around happening in the advanced engineering and manufacturing space in the region. Aerospace, you would have seen in the news that there's a lot of announcements around the future of the aerospace sector, and that would have a huge impact on the region and actually the supply chains as well. I think one of the things that will be a deciding factor around this is how diverse their portfolios are at the moment, whether they have been diversifying into like green technologies and other areas. I would say that primarily reflects the aerospace sector. There are other advanced engineering specialisms that we have in the region, which hopefully will continue. And the creative and digital and professional services side still continue to be strong. They can work from home. Obviously, we've seen a huge shift in digital working and the need for the digital apps. So we're seeing traditional employers in like food and retail shifting towards that digital side. So this area will continue to grow. And also in terms of our professional services offer, we are seeing it being in that kind of digital space. So the fintech, the law tech, the stuff that can be done through a digital application. If we can move on, please. So I'm sure all of you are aware of the Working Futures publication. This is kind of a national publication that looks at what sectors will be growing and declining in a 10-year period. This was published just before COVID-19, but did try and take account slightly of Brexit. So the areas of decline were primarily those where you would see the digital impact happening. So you'd see a reduction in employment, but probably an increase in productivity because you would see a shift towards the application of AI and other things. And obviously those areas where caring and professional services, we have an aging population, so you're likely to see more people in this space required to work. One thing I'd like to pick out is replacement demand. Obviously, that's where a lot of the jobs come from, is people moving within the labour market or retiring. Whilst you're still likely to see quite a lot of people retiring, those who, because of the uncertainty at the moment, people may just stay put in their jobs until there's greater certainty. So those jobs where young people may enter into the labour market might not be there. Also, graduates, they, as a result of those jobs not being there, they may take up those kind of lowest, what we consider lower skilled, which aren't really occupations in things like retail. So you have highly qualified people in those kind of entry jobs, which then mean people with less of a kind of academic background don't necessarily have those jobs to move into, which could create some challenges. Again, we're kind of constantly going to be watching this and reviewing this to see what's happening. If you could like to move on. So all of this is a kind of rapidly moving picture. So we're doing a lot of work with partners in the region to try and understand what's happening. So the Mayor has set up a recovery task force to come up with our action plan on how we're going to locally support the recovery. And this is being underpinned by a series of sector groups. And it's through these sector groups that we hope to gather a lot of labour market information, which we will hopefully then be able to feed back through various channels. Hopefully you've heard of the skills advisory panels. All areas have a requirement to have a skills advisory panel. Alex actually sits on that, and it's where people from different disciplines and partners, businesses come together to discuss the skills challenges for the region. And it's very much evidence-led. So the evidence that's being collected from these sector groups is very much going to feed into this skills advisory panel. We're also currently out to recruit a labour market analyst. The job application is open until next week if you know anybody and want to push it out to anyone. And that is a 12-month post, which will hopefully help us to collate and understand all this intelligence that we're collecting through these channels. And then we aim to push all this material out through our online portals, and also through Sherry and others who will be able to circulate this to you guys. As I've said, sorry if we can move on, I've just included a couple of like helpful reports and things that obviously will predate COVID-19, but for those sectors that actually had skill shortages, those skill shortages are still going to remain, and we should be taking and responding accordingly to those. And then also, I've just pulled out the ones that reflect the kind of priority areas for the region. So yeah, that's the West of England at the moment.
Thank you so much for that, Charlotte. That's great to have that kind of overview. I'm going to just stop sharing everything now and get back to the meeting. So we're running a little bit behind time because I think it's all the technical things you get when you're trying to do something online. But this is an opportunity now for you to maybe ask a question or to add to the discussion. So I know there's been some briefings in Swindon and Wiltshire. So if you've got anything you want to add in to the discussion, that'd be good. Just put your mic on and talk, or you could put it into chat if you want to. So does anybody want to add anything into that, or something you might know about what's happening locally to you? Just a sort of on the grounds view.
There's nothing on the ground view, but it's just a point. I read something last week, and I don't know if everyone has seen it. I'm sure you have, but Education Employers recently published a paper on the impact of digital in the future jobs market. It's laid out really quite well. So for careers advisors, it is quite something, you know, that you could, if you're struggling with some young people that really aren't getting the fact that there will be major changes, and they've got things their parents have done or things that they've got very, as we know, they can have a very strong opinion on fixed opinion on where they want to go. It could be really helpful for both you know, post 16 and post 18 students. I don't know if you've seen that, but it is there on the Education Employers website. If not, I can email the publication over to Sue and she can distribute that out to you.
Yeah, please do, and I'll show you later where we're going to start posting things up on Career Pilot as well. So yeah, please, anything like that, or any links you come across, anybody that you think are really good and really going to help us as careers advisors, then just let me know. Anybody else want to ask or say anything?
Sorry, I picked up from FE News that apprenticeship starts were down by 72% nationally in April.
72%.
72%.
Yeah.
Yeah, massively. They've gone through the floor.
So
Borough Happold have got 2 vacancies. Well, they've got some vacancies. They advertised 2 days ago. So there are small numbers available.
So, Alex, do you happen to know whether gov.uk apprenticeship vacancy website is up to date? Because fairly recently there were loads of hospitality jobs on there, and we were wondering whether these are they keeping up with it?
I think they've gone around and done a colour as much as possible, because there does seem to be a big reduction on there. I did go around and check a few with some of my members and asked them if they were current, and they hadn't changed the date, but they said they were still current. They were definitely live. Haven't done that exercise in a while, and I could go back to do that, but there are other people from outside of region who aren't in the network who are posting on there. What I would look at, if you're having a look at the vacants, have a look at the posting date and see if it was sort of sort of post lockdown.
Yeah.
And that will tell you. Some might be pre-lockdown and they haven't been identified a candidate, or what they've done is maybe just relivened it without actually changing the original date, which can happen. But anything post lockdown will be current and obviously valid. So check the data posting on there.
That's useful. And is there anything from Swindon and Wiltshire, sort of key LMI stuff that you've been picking up from your region?
Hi, Sue. I've just put something in the chat. So at the one of our career hub meetings, the predicted growth sectors I've just listed in the chat in Swindon and Wiltshire. Oh,
great. I can see that. Yeah. So thanks for that. Yeah. So a bit of overlap. Oh, can't quite get it down. Oh yeah. Okay. Okay.
I've got a quick question for
Charlotte. Yeah.
It was she was saying that the advanced engineering and manufacturing sector, that the aviation was obviously taking a hit, but the other aspects of that sector were sustaining in terms of employability. And I wondered if she could say what those other sectors were.
We have particular specialisms in kind of composite materials and the kind of R&D side, which then feeds across to construction and a whole host of other advanced manufacturing sectors, including low carbon and other things. Whilst, aerospace is quite a visible thing, this is more about the kind of the design side behind it. So our specialisms actually in the aerospace industry here is around wing design primarily. So those design elements are still going to be apparent here, and around that kind of composite materials and the kind of future kind of low carbon elements of advanced manufacturing.
Okay, thanks very much.
Okay, well, I mean, this, we can actually be asking questions outside this meeting as well. When people want to do things through me, that's fine. And like I say, send me any juicy things that you're picking up on. I will sort out about putting them on Career Pilot so you can all have access to them. I'm going to just stop this recording now, and then we'll move on to the one about colleges.